You guys are kind of a dynamic duo now.
Yeah.
I think so.
Turned into that.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. So you're both vocal coaches. Is that how you met? Or how did that happen? Because you're married, you're vocal coaches, and you operate Sing Orlando,
We do.
right? Local business.
Right.
So so
How do we meet, Kirsten?
Well, I took a voice lesson.
Oh,
This is true.
got you.
This is true.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
She invited me out, to be clear.
I did, because
But-
I knew he couldn't ask me out. I was paying him.
Oh, so it was like the teacher-student relationship
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
well,
cool.
That stopped really quickly.
Yeah,
though.
it did. It was
Did
pretty
it?
quick along. Yeah. I mean, well, it's funny. So the story that we like to tell is I thought he'd make a great boyfriend. He thought I'd make a great vocal coach. And then
I was right.
Were you right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Clearly.
Well, she didn't keep the boyfriend role, but
Yeah. She's like locking this one down.
Yeah. But yeah,
Cool.
it's just like, we just got along really well, had a good dynamic. And I was like, you should come out and hang out with my friends and we go to this thing. And so we did.
I couldn't make it that weekend, and it magically got changed to the next weekend.
I know. Yeah,
wow.
magically,
Like,
all
no
my
one else
friends
could
had
make it that
conflicts
weekend.
too that weekend.
Yeah.
So we just had to switch it to a weekend that Ken was available.
Just
yeah.
happen chance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, the rest is history.
You were studying as a singer when you met him, and then you transitioned to vocal coaching because did you make the suggestion to her?
Well, yeah, I could tell initially that would be a great fit for her. You know, just her personality type and her ear and all these other things. And naturally, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but she's a quick learner too. So
it's one of those things that like it seems everything that I've done has kind of led me to this. Like I did, you know, even in school, I was always confused as to what I wanted to major in. I started in pre-med neuroscience.
Oh, wow.
And transitioned into musical theater, which of course was a great choice.
Awesome, yeah.
But yeah, even just like having that like background in the sciences like teaches me I can lend myself well to all the science of the voice and the biology and
Right,
even the
neuroscience
brain
is-
on singing. And
Yeah,
so, yeah.
that's really interesting.
That and I don't know.
well, and you did the traveling children's theater
did,
thing where
yeah.
you were, doing all the
I was
training
doing some
there.
directing and some teaching there.
So you're doing your like theater plays, and you're performing on stage and singing on stage.
Yeah. One of the biggest things, I mean, I did like regional theater for a little while, so just kind of musicals, summer stock musicals. But one of the things I did, I traveled all around the country with another person, and we would be in a different town every week. And one of us would be the actor and one of us would be the director, and we would switch every other week. So we would get there and we would meet 60 kids, and we would work with them over the week to produce a full musical.
Really, in 1 week?
Ours
kids?
was with kids. So ours was Blackbeard the Pirate, which was awesome.
Blackbeard. So you did like
So-
a similar show each week?
We did the same show each
Gotcha.
week, just different kids. But
Gotcha.
we would act as the narrator. So again, one of us would switch out, and the other
Right.
one of us would be backstage working with the kids and teaching them stuff, and the other would be on stage singing and acting with them on stage. And
And you traveled across the country? doing
yeah,
that?
yeah, we
Wow.
went. We were more middle of the North America, so that even took us up into Canada. So we went up into Canada, down all the way into Oklahoma, pretty much middle of the U.S.
This
and
is after
Canada.
neuroscience?
This was after neuroscience. Yeah, this was after
Okay.
I graduated college.
Okay, so you graduated from neuroscience, and then you were like, I'm going to go to musical theater.
No, I started neuroscience. I did end up majoring in musical theater.
Oh, I see. You
I
transitioned.
switched
I see.
halfway.
Oh, okay, I
yeah.
was like, whoa.
It was
yeah.
one of those things I was taking every free credit that I could in the drama department and in
it
musical
clicked.
theater. And by the end, I was like, I think I'm just going to major in this.
That's awesome.
I'm really enjoying this. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
So you're a singer. Do all singers make good vocal coaches?
No.
I would, I tend to think no.
No, like a great singer might not be a good teacher. Is it? What's up with that?
Well, here's the thing. So we all have our own journey. We all have our own habits, and we kind of learn to navigate our own voice. So that works really well. And typically when, a lot of times what happens is, people say, hey, you're a great singer. Will you teach me how to sing? And so they pick that up. And this would have been me, honestly, when I first started. Like when I first started teaching back in 2005 or something. It's like I knew I was a pretty good singer, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge about the coaching side of things. See, the thing that you don't realize is that every voice is different. And so what you're inevitably going to do in that context is teach someone the way that you learned, which could be helpful if they had similar habits.
Yeah.
Or it could actually even be harmful.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I think that everyone has, their wisdom to share. But if you're looking to kind of build the voice, build the foundation and everything else, not necessarily, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that even too, like I said, I go into the sciencey side of things because that's just me. But just even looking at the biology and the everything like that and the physics, and I mean, gosh, it's insane
So
how
you
you
two
could
have
get into
separate approaches. A bit?
ish. I probably do a little bit more on the science side, at least with my students. Like I
Okay.
probably explain a little bit more of that than you probably do. But I mean, similar-ish. We both, kind of learn the same stuff. And if I find an interesting article, I send it his way and vice versa. So I mean, go to the same conferences and things like that. But I mean, you look at that and you realize like, the voice should work XYZ way. But then as you hear somebody's voice and you realize, oh, this is out, this is out, this is out. Whereas like, again, if you're just a good singer and you're not going to really know that. You're not going to know how to approach some of those,
Right, if you have this natural talent.
challenges. Yeah, and natural talent, it's kind of hard because, again, that just came naturally to you. Like if you
Right.
were completely and totally born with it, like it's hard to teach somebody who wasn't born with it.
Yeah, and if you're not born with it, I mean, a lot of people will probably just assume, I don't even know. Some people just don't have it, maybe. Some people are so natural at it, it's discouraging to people that have to really work at it. Right?
No, for sure.
for
And one of
sure.
the more common things that I'll see is, I'll have a client come in and be like, after a particularly frustrating lesson where we're just diving into technique and things like that, and things are a little sticky because of old habits, inevitably the conversation comes up, man, I wish this was, natural for me and, everything just, didn't have to work towards it. I was like, that's an interesting thought. But let me humor me. Think about this for a minute. Imagine that, you wake up tomorrow and your dreams came true. You have a record deal, you now have an arena tour, and all of this other stuff happens. And 2 months into all of this, you get sick. And you're making 6 figures a night. You're not going on.
Right.
So you're going to go and you're going to push things around and you're going to do all of these things that you wouldn't necessarily normally do. And then maybe even start creating some habit there. Well, fast forward another month and now you have all these things that are kind of out of whack and you don't really understand your instrument and know how to fix it. That would be a real issue. So, for me, whenever somebody says that, it's like, this is kind of you paying your dues, learning your instrument and learning how to adjust when you need to.
Right.
So,
Right.
Similar situation happened with a client of mine who, had very good natural talent and everything like that, ended up hurting her voice because she would rely on like menthol cough drops and things that would numb her voice because she would start getting herself really tired. So she's just like, oh, I don't feel it if I do cough drops. So gig after gig after gig, their band got very successful, got to the point where she was gigging four nights a week. And it just got to be too much. And she didn't know how to navigate her instrument, didn't know that she was actually hurting herself in the process. And so, yeah, you could have a whole lot of natural talent, but again, how to navigate it and how to do that consistently and everything like that requires a little bit of work.
I think I heard you say something on your YouTube channel about singers are like athletes. Did I hear that?
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. That was exactly what I was thinking. If you're going to be going on stage and be spending potentially hours worth of time using your instrument, that's a lot. That's a lot. So yeah, you have to learn to use your instrument in the right way and to build that stamina and build the right coordination. It's less like building a muscle and more a factor of building the right balance. Yeah.
Yeah. I one of the things, I ran a marathon back in November, and I liken singing to running a marathon. A lot of people think that, a couple, they should be able to sing. They have a voice.
How far is a marathon?
26.2 miles.
You ran 26.2 miles?
Sure did.
And it's like singing. Okay, no.
I did not.
Yeah, he has a shirt that says 0.0, I'm good.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But a lot of people liken in their heads they liken singing to weightlifting or something like that. I should be able to do it, and the more that I push, the more I can do it. And I would argue it's a little bit more like marathon running. Like, you need to condition yourself over time, and you need to learn a proper form and checking in with that. Like, I know when I was hitting the wall around mile 18, like, I just kind of had to check in and be like, what's my posture like? What's this like? Am I tensing too much here? And kind of the same thing with singing. If you're going to sing 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week, 8 times a week if you're on Broadway, like, you're going to need to be able to check in and be like, what's out? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this not sounding the way that I want it to? But it really is. It's very athletic. I mean, you have to, again, more coordination, more balance, more form than power and strength and stuff.
Right.
Right, because the kind of natural thing to do, I think, for a lot of vocalists is to just like be louder or like power, right? And that's probably how you hurt yourself.
Power through, exactly. Yeah. For sure. Definitely.
Or it can be, at least.
Yeah, and one of the first things you do is warm up, right?
Typically.
That's very, like, just like you would as an athlete. Wow. So you have the YouTube channel. You just started streaming. You started a website.
Yes.
Yeah. We're that's a little bit. That's still in a beta phase.
Cool.
So we haven't gone too much into that, but it's a hybrid system between one-on-one training, and it pairs that with online videos and things like that. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, we do feedback within it. We have the ability to do classes, as well as a handful of training courses that I've recorded over time.
Yeah, basically, not everyone can do one-on-one lessons and get that kind of feedback. So we have, most people then would opt for an online training system that they find on YouTube, or they find maybe by looking up a famous coach and something and downloading their training program, which might include ABC, XYZ warm-ups and exercises. So kind of what we've created is that, but with access to a vocal coach. So like we are there if they need us, versus like, because they could be doing this exercise totally incorrectly or doing something that they don't need to be doing because of their voice type. Like if they already power through a little too much, well, you don't need this thing on being louder. You probably shouldn't work on that. So it gives them access at least a little bit to a vocal coach.
Right. And the exercises are, I feel like you need support to get some of these exercises going.
Yes.
Because, maybe not even if you're doing them right or wrong, but you feel silly doing them.
Right.
And you have to really know what you're doing with it. Like, what's the point of blowing through a straw or making these funny sounds? Or what are some of staple exercises?
Pretty much always start with like a lip flutter, a little type of thing.
Lip flutter. What's the point of?
So it balances a lot of different things, right? But one of the things that it does is it helps you moderate airflow. So creating that steady and consistent flow of air, it's one of the things you want to have as a singer. It helps you balance pressure. So you can't squeeze too much or not allow too much air out, whatever. And then even from a resonance perspective, if you're all closed off, you can't flip, nothing happens.
Right.
So, just a lot of things it helps to balance in one fell swoop. And the other thing is it kind of takes people's mind off of it, because if you're making a silly noise, then you don't have to question it so much,
Right. Yeah, you're not trying to you're not going to be so critical about your, did I hit that pitch right or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
So what'd you do? You did you grip your cheeks? I want to do some of these.
No, you're
I want to do some of these.
So finger, thumb, I'd start at the chin, at the jawline, and then lift up to where the teeth meet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you just...
There you go.
It's going to be a great montage.
Oh, no, of course. Of course. This is wonderful slowed down, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
There was
I have very, very, very few young clients because, again, I go very sciencey. I go very in-depth. I'm very detailed. But one of the girls that has stuck around, she was about 9 years old when I recorded her do this. And I slow-mo'd her lip flutter, and it's just hilarious. It's like...
Oh, that's so great.
So great.
Yeah,
definitely do that.
That's good. That's fun.
But,
and the point of that one is to be consistent.
Consistent air.
Yeah, it just helps balance a lot of things, but it helps balance air pressure at the chord, and then also, to an extent, some resonance.
Yeah. Helps you relax a little bit more because it's hard to have a tightened jaw and everything when you're doing that. And again, what Ken was saying, resonance-wise, a lot of times when people sing, they have a tendency to close off. They want to just kind of tighten and go wide, whereas on a lip trill, you have all this space back here, but your lips are in fact closed. So it teaches you no matter what, whether you're on a consonant or a vowel, you keep that steady and consistent flow of air.
Gotcha. one thing I kind of picked up secondhand from you guys, because your students are my roommates.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so I hear them making
things all the
sounds
time.
and things, and I'm like, "What's that do?" Because we all
Are this?
record music,
Yeah.
and
Right.
for me, it's more of a hobby. Zach is in a pretty great prog rock band, and Alyssa does a lot of covers and stuff. So it's fun for us to toss around ideas.
Yeah.
But one of the things I picked up from them was just like mouth shapes.
Yeah.
And it's just something I never thought about. And not that it made me like the great singer all of a sudden, but it was just like one more tool in the box, I guess you
Yeah.
could put
For
it.
sure.
And some things were, before I was trying to compensate by doing some like crazy stylistic choice. It's like, oh, I can just kind of shape my mouth and have a little bit more options. Or so and that was a very simple lesson to learn. What's with the straw?
I'll let you.
I love bubbles.
Two bubbles, yeah.
My bubbles. But straw phonation, as they call it
Straw
in the technical
phonation.
world.
This
Yes.
is the science stuff
Straw
here.
phonation. So essentially, it balances out the larynx. So, oh boy, we're going technical here.
Let's go.
But if you put two fingers on your larynx and swallow.
This is my Adam's apple area?
Yeah,
Adam's apple,
that's your
yeah.
larynx.
Larynx.
So go ahead and
And swallow?
swallow. You
don't
feel
like
it go
that.
up?
Yeah, I don't like that.
It
Yeah.
feels weird. So when your larynx goes up, you're essentially going into swallow mode. Things go tight, right? Because you think about it, when you swallow, you close off your air pipe so that you don't choke on whatever it is you happen to
Gotcha.
be swallowing.
Right.
So a lot of times we sing in that place. We sing with a hiked larynx. We sing with those swallowing muscles. So what blowing bubbles does is, first of all, it regulates airflow very obviously. So if you are too forceful with your air, well, you're going to get splashed in the face. And
It's hilarious.
Yes.
Every single time.
I have literally
Yeah,
been
don't
splashed
go.
in the face by a student with her
Oh, yeah?
bubbles. Yes.
A student ran off to the bathroom, and I went and grabbed tape and like wrote splash zone around
nice.
their chair. It was great. Yeah, that was wonderful.
She's like, I used to do this when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was mortified at me. And she was like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, just splash your teacher in the face?
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh gosh. But so anyway, it regulates airflow. It shows that, again, if you have too much, even if you have too little, I'll start people by just blowing bubbles silently. And then when they add sound, sometimes the bubbles will either go crazy or the bubbles will go away, meaning they're tightening too much or they're pushing too hard. So it kind of, again, it's a nice visual feedback as to you pushing too hard or you straining too much kind of thing. But the second thing that it does, and this goes back to the whole larynx going up and everything, it creates back pressure. So if you've got, air into air, same density, versus air into water, water is a little bit more dense than air. And so it kind of creates this back pressure so that your larynx levels out. So it's harder to hike unless you're really trying. I mean, you can, and some people have really, really tough habits where even on bubbling, their larynx will go up. But for the most part, if you're doing it in a relaxed way, it's going to keep this super, super relaxed. There's a great video of a woman who had a camera down her throat, and you can see a vocal scope.
Oh, wow.
And she was singing without the bubbles and then with the bubbles, and she put the two videos side by side. And the one without the bubbles, larynx is going up, down. You see all these muscles pushing in, all that stuff. Over here, it almost looks like it's a picture. With the bubbles, because it's just so relaxed, so stationary and solid.
Consistent.
It almost
Consistent.
looks like a still image.
Yeah, it looks like a still
You
image.
see this thing in the chords, but that's about it.
That's
Yeah,
about
it's
all you
crazy.
see. And
Wow.
so, and it's not necessarily attainable without water, like that level of relaxation and stability, but it does encourage you. It teaches those muscles. It's a means to an end. And a lot of the exercises and warm-ups that we do are means to an end. It's not like you want to sound like this every single day.
Well, they help you find that momentum.
Yeah, it helps
they
you
carve
find
a
it.
path of right singing. That's what a warm-up does.
Yeah.
So.
So even with the bubbles, that may not be attainable, but it will teach your muscles like, hey, chill, relax.
Right.
You can sing without having to overdo everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A doctor I observed a master class doing was talking about he likened it to Dr. Scholl's for the voice because it just helps you find that perfect function in the chord at the chord level, without having to really overly think about it. So it just sets you up for success. Now, of course, when you get out of that, you take your Dr. Scholl's out, and you're going to start walking with that, that old habit again. But slowly but surely, you start to become more centered. So, if that makes sense.
It does. It seems like it's a kind of a gauge. You figure out like where you were naturally doing to Yeah, kind of
The
both
ideal.
extremes. The
Yeah.
ideal, yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
And it's a vocal therapy tool. I mean, people with vocal nodules and things like that, ENTs will use
Vocal nodules? What's
that.
that?
Yeah, vocal damage.
Oh.
So if you use your voice in a particularly wrong way, you can get essentially a callus on your vocal cords.
Oh.
And that makes your voice a little bit more raspy, a little more breathy, a little harder to sing in
Like
general.
scar tissue, kind
Yeah,
of?
kind of.
Yeah, something like that. Callus scar tissue. I gotcha.
Yeah. And so, you can either, depending on, how severe they are, very mild forms of that can actually be reversed, if I'm correct in saying that from your doctor.
I would look at a doctor for that. But yes,
I remember
don't
this
speak
doctor.
medical things.
Well, no,
But
I mean,
the gentleman
you
that I
met the
saw,
guy,
he actually showed very extreme cases
Yeah.
of nodules being pretty much reversed.
Wow, yeah.
I like I said, I don't talk about medical stuff in that
Right.
capacity,
Right.
but it is incredible what can be done in that context.
Yeah.
Yeah, hurting your vocal cords has got to be scary.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be pretty terrifying.
It is, but it's not like a death sentence for a singing
No.
career either.
No.
You know, I mean, it's something you definitely want to avoid at all costs. The best way to get over damage is to prevent it in the first place.
Yep.
Be mindful of that, ahead of time. But at the same point in time, I mean, you just have to kind of go back to figuring out, that ideal placement and whatnot.
Right.
It kind of just makes you a little more mindful of worst case scenario. So
Gotcha, yeah. So these are the kind of things you were telling her when you first met her, and then
Oh yeah. That was our conversation.
and she was like, "This guy right here would make a great boyfriend."
Yeah, pretty much. I think there were a lot of British accents in there.
Oh, there really were. We always
right.
reverted into a British accent for some
Somehow, I
reason.
don't know why.
Oh yeah,
I don't
that
know
just
why.
turns
Just
up.
somehow. Yes,
That did
cheerio.
happen.
Yeah. Well, she was
That's
Mary
amazing.
Poppins. That was like
I
kind of her
was.
thing,
Did you do Mary
so-
Poppins? You were Mary Poppins.
Yes.
She is Mary.
I am Mary Poppins. Are you kidding me?
Excuse me.
It just comes out. There's no stopping it.
Right? You get a teaspoon of sugar.
Yeah. Spoonful
sure.
of sugar.
Spoons. Yep.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. See. Yeah.
Mary Poppins already teaching me lessons. That's amazing.
Be tablespoon with her. No,
Yeah.
it's-
I will
One
have
cup
all
of
the
sugar.
sugar. I will have all of it.
Oh man. So what are so singing is obvious. I mean, you guys obviously trained singers. Is there any other like vocal coaching? Do you do speeches and stuff like for speech things like that? Is that a whole other game?
It is. I mean, there's
Ish.
definitely similarities. I've
Yeah.
had a couple of people that have, kind of gone back and forth between the two and have definitely benefited from having more singing stuff.
Yeah.
But that's where I live,
Yeah, sure. Were you a singer when you started
When I started teaching.
teaching?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I started singing. I started performing when I was 12.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for a minute.
What kind of performing?
A little bit of everything actually.
Okay.
I've done everything from like singer-songwriter stuff to band stuff to, more rock stuff. I did theme park work in high school. I did opera in college and some
Gotcha.
musical theater. And I kind of got out of all of that. And actually I did a little trade work with, an engineer producer guy and back when I was in school. And he was able to, I got some of my stuff recorded, which was really cool back
Oh,
then.
nice.
But I remember it's interesting because like transitioning all of that into teaching, when I started teaching, just a little bit out of college, I kind of had, in my mind, I had to make a decision because I was teaching as much as I was, and we were talking about it's like a muscle or kind of, there's definitely a sense of athletics involved. You only have so much. You can't, be a personal trainer and do every set with your client.
Right.
So I kind of
Right.
realized fairly quickly I had to make a choice of whether I wanted to continue performing or if I wanted to really focus on the coaching thing.
Stretching it thin physically.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was an easy choice for me because while I always loved singing, performing I enjoyed okay, but it wasn't like my ideal thing. Matter of fact, after my first performing gig post-college, I was like, you know what? I don't think I like that lifestyle. I don't think that's for me. you know?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, you're basically a freelancer
Yeah, auditioning for a job, you know.
Yeah, that
every
might not
6
even
months or
pay.
something.
Sometimes it's just hard to get jobs that don't even pay.
That's true. That's true.
You know,
So
when you're
true.
starting out at first.
Oh yeah. So it was, I mean, it was an easy decision for me because I've always loved helping people, and it took me. There was a learning curve to it for sure, but it was a fun challenge too. So you know,
found
here
your
I
thing.
am. Yeah, but here I am, like 15 years later almost.
Right,
And,
yeah.
it's awesome, man. I love every day of it.
Were you? You said at the theme parks is Disney and Universal, or
no,
where were you?
I lived in Memphis growing
Oh,
up.
that's right. I think you did mention this before.
No, that's okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So a tiny little park called Liberty Land that no longer exists, unfortunately.
Liberty Land.
Yeah, the general manager that was there when I was there, I learned a few years later, got fired, let go or whatever. But I guess he embezzled like almost $100,000 or something.
Wow.
I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I mean, that's what I heard. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really.
Yeah, but now
Oh
it's
my
gone.
Yeah, but it's gone. It's no longer
Gotcha.
there. But they did have the Zip and Pippin, which was famed to be Elvis's favorite ride. So,
It's a roller coaster.
oh yeah, yeah.
The Zippin' Pippin.
The Zip and
Wow.
Pippin. Yep. I remember riding that thing once, and it felt like the handle was coming up. Like, oh crap, you know. So,
Right.
Old wooden roller
Oh,
coaster
yeah,
from
the
like
wooden
the
ones.
50s or
Oh my
60s.
gosh.
It was
I've only
nuts.
ever been on one wooden roller coaster, and it was at it was in Tampa at Busch
Okay.
Gardens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before it used to, now it's like all steel. But I remember when I was a kid, that thing would like shake, and you'd be like, it was dangerous. It was a little dangerous.
Yeah. But fun. I mean, it's
So fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think because there's this like sensation like this thing's gonna go off the rail. Like,
I could fall out of this. thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Why is
right.
this so much fun?
Right, the stakes are higher. Yeah, totally.
But yeah.
Yeah. Are you getting singers from the parks? Because they have a lot of, I would imagine.
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
we've got a
talent.
handful of them.
Yeah.
We have a handful of a couple of regular performers. Obviously, a lot of aspiring performers. You know, it was interesting when I moved down here. I anticipated that I would have more of those type of clients, but sometimes the schedule doesn't make that easy. You know, especially the people that are
Right.
in heavy rotation there.
Right.
So, you know, we've got clients that are there. We've got clients that are in bands. We've got clients that are just people that want to learn how to sing, you know, and I've got, you know, Skype clients a little bit of everywhere, kind of peppered
Yeah.
around. So,
Yeah. Do you think everyone should learn how to sing? Or like,
if you like
If you
it,
want to.
yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
singing always
You
feels
learn how to
good,
sing
right?
now.
I think everyone sings. I don't think anyone
That's a
does
fair point.
anyone by themselves in a car at some point or in the
yeah.
shower. It may not, you know, there's something about it, right?
For sure.
No,
Something
For sure.
something it does for your brain.
Yeah.
That
Well, oh, sorry.
No,
I'm
please.
going science again.
Yo, I think there's a perfect opportunity to, yeah.
Yeah. So another vocal coach that is kind of one of our mentors and everything like that explained that you know every nerve that goes to the rest of your body has to pass through your neck. So it goes from your brain to your body back to your head. And you think about it, you know, when you're producing these vibrations, your vocal cords vibrate anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times a second.
Really?
Which is just extremely fast, creating a lot of vibrations in here. And it kind of gives a little, you know, massage to
Sorry,
those
say that
nerves.
again. How many times a second?
Anywhere from 100 on a very low note
Okay.
to 1,000, which is a high female C.
Gotcha.
Per
Okay.
second.
Per second.
Per second,
That's
yes.
amazing.
You actually cannot see it visibly. You have to have a stroboscopy, like a vocal strobe that
Gotcha.
slows it down, slows the
Wow.
image down, yeah. But yeah, so again, all those vibrations and everything like that, they kind of make their way into all those nerves that are going from your body and then back up to your brain.
Okay.
And so it's like, it literally is a whole body experience because, again, this is affecting everywhere in your body essentially.
Right.
So, but yeah, so it's very, literally like you feel it everywhere when you sing.
Yeah, it's like literally I mean, well, music in general is already like something's happening in your brain,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like and I know with like learning guitar and like I'm starting to learn a bit of piano now. There's something about using that part of my brain.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you treat your vocals like an instrument, you're essentially doing the same thing,
Yeah.
probably, right?
For sure.
Maybe.
Yeah. A little harder though, because you can't see it.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally.
And it's different every day.
Like
I
a
mean,
piano's nice. There's a keyboard in
Yep,
front of you.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't hear something
It's a very
right,
That's-
you
tangible
see.
thing. Yeah.
yes, you
Yeah.
can see that you're hitting the wrong note. Whereas with your voice, it's like, why the heck isn't this working?
Right. Yeah. One of the,
But I know.
yeah. One of the things I like using is I have an app on my phone that, you know, shows you the different frequencies and the notes and stuff.
Nice.
And so I'll whip that out and be like, what am I? And then, what other notes are available in the scale that I can try singing and try to, things like that. But I need a visual cue sometimes that helps quite a bit.
For sure.
Definitely.
No, for sure. And that kind of app really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, it gives you something visual, gives you feedback.
And now a few words about our sponsor. Castledor Studios is a music production house located in Orlando, Florida, and it's where I choose to record episodes of The Orange Lando Show. The studio features a blend of vintage and modern equipment and can accommodate musical artists of any genre, voiceover recordings, and, of course, podcasts. They can help with anything audio related. Castledor Studios offers free tours. Come check out their amazing facility for free. There's nothing to lose. They also offer free open house events like their monthly songwriter night where artists share and critique each other's work. It's free, people. Every session you book with Castledor Studios will be professional, private, and inspiring. If you have a creative idea, take action now and contact Castledor Studios at castledorstudios.com. Use reference code OrangeLando to receive a 10% discount on your first booking. All right, back to the show. I practice yoga in the morning, and one of the things we do is chant. And it's the first thing you do is you do like this, it's called an invocation, where it's just basically you're kind of like bring yourself to the moment, like all the mind chatter and stuff. You're just kind of trying to be like, not think about all those things, kind of let them rest and just be aware of yourself, mentally and physically. And then there's a lot of breathing going on in yoga. And I started doing, I realized immediately once I started trying to actually learn how to sing a little bit, or like at least practice singing, let's put it that way, that if I did it after my yoga practice in the morning, like that warm up from just the breathing was, I was like, I'm the best singer in the world. I'm amazing.
It's a great feeling, isn't it?
It is. It's good to have control over yourself and feel like, to do things.
Well, and the less tension in the body, the less tension in your voice. I mean, same thing. And even just exercise in general, it kind of gets your heart beating, your lungs breathing, and
blood flowing.
And there's all the things that happen. And
next thing you know, your student's your wife. And honestly, I'm going to keep going back to that.
I'm in a different kind of blood. Yeah, that too. That was a thing.
Is that it? You were like, yeah, blood's flowing.
I know.
We're harmonizing.
Here we are.
Beating,
yeah, exactly. In harmony, two people. It's a wonderful thing.
There's a story there. I don't know what it is, but there's a story there.
There are a lot of stories.
There's a lot of stories. There's a rom-com there. That's what it is.
It really could be.
Yeah. What would the title be?
Oh, geez.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Probably something really ridiculous.
Oh, it would have
probably
to
an
be.
inside joke. I mean, it's insane. We can have conversations, and then we'll finish it and be like, nobody else would know what we were just talking about.
That makes zero sense to anyone else.
Falling in harmony.
Ooh.
There you go.
Love it.
Yeah. Starring
I'll
Ken
get
and
on
Kirsten.
it. I'll get on
Kirsten.
I'm down.
Hell yeah.
Start writing it right away.
Do a skit. What about breathing? So I kind of touched on that for a second, but you guys teach breathing techniques.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. For sure.
Is there people aren't using their breath, they're using their breath differently when they're singing in a drastic way than what they normally are?
Ideally, the person normally uses their breath that way, but I mean, we kind of, I think primally growing up, we do. You listen to a baby, just there's this wall of sound, right? Yeah. I think as we get older, we kind of take on bad either posture habits, or we start kind of holding things back, and then we breathe a little more shallowly. And so we're just kind of helping people get back to normal in a way.
Gotcha.
But also part of it is how you breathe, right? But also part of it is how you utilize your instrument down there as you exhale. Because the whole reason why we breathe in a certain way as singers is to create a steady and consistent flow of air. So a lot of people, as we speak, will just kind of, and then we do this, and we're done.
Right.
You know, so you don't really have to elongate the speech and, you know, find a good balance of that and chord closure. And I'm getting technical, so I'm going to stop. But yeah, I mean, long story short, kind of that down and outward expansion as you inhale. You know, you always hear breathe from the diaphragm, which means nothing to anybody as a general rule.
What is my diaphragm?
Yeah. What is this? Why?
It's my stomach.
I'll do you one better. Why is my diaphragm?
Why is it my diaphragm?
It's just, you know, it's like the rest of the voice. It's very intangible. But, you know, when you start focusing on just sending that breath a little lower, having that expansion, and then also continuing, or at least resisting the natural tendency for that expansion to come in as you start to speak. As you do that, you can moderate the airflow a little bit easier. And so that's what we're looking to do when we're helping our singers and when we're singing ourselves.
Right, because you don't want to run out of breath in the wrong spot.
Right. Well, and you want to be strategic about where you
take your
stuff
breath.
like that too. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and you want it to be, again, that consistent flow of air, because so many times people, you know, blast air when they don't mean to. It's not like they wanted to get louder there. It's just it happened. Or same with like, chopping up the song or choking it back here, because that is a very common thing with the whole exhale and learning how to control it. A lot of people, again, kind of hold their breath here. Like, you know, if you told somebody to hold their breath,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
chords
hold
Right,
my
you're
breath.
doing it.
That's
That's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing, and that's how they're
Right.
trying to control their air out versus using all these muscles down here, diaphragm, intercostal muscles. There's this big diaphragm debate going on right now, apparently.
Really?
Singing, but I just we'll get rid of
Like
that.
the science
first.
community?
Yes, and like the vocal coaching community. Okay, so science has labeled the diaphragm as an involuntary muscle, meaning
You don't have
science says
control
that you
over it.
cannot control the diaphragm.
Gotcha.
But naturally, we can take a deep breath and hold it and slow our breath and everything like that. So there's a debate whether it's the intercostal muscles in between the ribs that are controlling this, or if it's actually the diaphragm. Some people have done studies that actually prove the diaphragm can be controlled, but then science is like, no, it's an involuntary muscle. Whatever, we can take a
Right.
deep breath and we can control it, is the bottom line. Like, it's possible. And everyone knows the term diaphragmatic breath, so that's what we use because everybody's heard it.
What it boils down to is what works.
Exactly. Like, does it work? Does it help? You know, if I tell you to
good point.
breathe from the diaphragm, does that help you and does it make it work? Cool.
Right, I can imagine a student being like, "Is this sound good, or is this work? Is this good, or is this bad?" And you're like, "Well, is it working?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
working.
Yes,
That's probably a better
exactly.
way to look at it. I think.
For sure.
Good,
Good
or
and bad
bad.
is so subjective.
Right.
I'll try and like,
I mean, it's music. It's
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like, I want to sing perfectly. It's like, go home. Like,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
never gonna
art.
happen.
There's no
Yeah.
such thing as perfection in art.
Yeah, I guess one of the things you probably students, I know I do, is I want to sing a song that someone else sings, and I want to try to sound like them, or at least I want to find an artist that like I can relate to in enough way to build a style off of. Might be a good approach to it.
Yeah.
But there's just some things I'm just it's not me. I'm not that person. You know,
Right.
I'm never gonna sound like Ariana Grande.
No, I don't think
No, it's not gonna happen, right? If it did happen, scientific community would be like,
I know, right?
what's going on here? Did they
interesting.
bring back the castrati? What? So, no, it's
I'm voluntarily using my diaphragm. That's what's happening.
I know.
there you go.
This is the most nerdy conversation. I
I know.
love it. There's gonna
I
be
can
like
get
4
so
people
much
out there that
more.
are gonna be like, "This is for me."
Yeah, I know, right?
I love it. It's
great.
Oh my gosh.
One question I do have as like a student, and I'm always trying to wonder, people talk about head voice and body or
Chest voice.
chest voice.
Yeah.
Typically, yeah.
What is that?
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
What is it?
Yeah.
Well, chest voice is what you typically speak in, right? So
Okay.
it's that normal, it's a fuller closure in the chords. It's a big, nice, robust sound, typically in that speaking range. Some females kind of speak in their head voice.
Yeah, some of them are up here.
Hank Hill,
Oh yeah, I've had that
dang it,
girlfriend.
Bobby,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Hi.
That's a little more head
Yeah.
voice,
Yeah.
right? But and then head voice is basically a lighter coordination. But you hear the terms chest voice, head voice. There used to be a lot of talk about, that's where the sound's resonating. More than anything, it's where we feel it, right? So chest voice, if you get really kind of deeper into this, you kind of feel that resonance in
Gotcha.
here. Whereas head voice just feels a little bit more in here. It's a little bit more dropped in.
Gotcha.
But as a general rule, head voice is a thinner coordination than chest voice.
What does that mean? Coordination. Oh,
She's so
Pass it on.
She's so
Tag.
excited. She's so excited.
tag. Kirsten's it.
All right. So head voice, chest voice. A lot of people like legitimately think you have two voices, and like
Nigh the two shall
nigh
meet.
the two shall meet, and that there is a definitive break. Like at a
Right.
G, I am and head voice, and at a
Right. If you want to get that higher note, you got to go into your head voice.
Exactly.
Right? That's
yeah,
what-
but it's very, very flexible.
that's not the case.
And no, it's
you're saying,
not.
okay.
Yeah. And even you can adjust different sounds. Like if I could be very loud, I might step away. But if I did a that's where my break is. But if I do a new ooh, there we go. We have a higher break. It's
Yeah.
just a different
Right.
feel, and we can manipulate it without having a break too. That's definitely possible. That's what, we're more mix getting down the line. But anyway, so in chest voice,
Yeah.
your vocal cords, so they're 3-dimensional here, and they're about the width of I think a dime, either
So-
a dime or
so
a penny.
usually-
They're called a chord, is it?
They're called a chord because when they first saw them, they looked like chords.
Okay.
Now, if you were to speak to at least some people in that community,
Folds.
they'd say folds.
Vocal folds.
Because when I see I've seen images of vocal cords in some videos or something trying to explain what exactly, and it's a flap.
yeah,
Right, exactly.
Okay.
yeah, they come together like
They
that.
do this thing.
Looks like something out of the Alien movie or something.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Precise. And-
But yeah, so they have a width, length, depth. This is talking
Okay.
depth and length at the moment. So in chest voice, your vocal cords are thicker, so to speak. They have more of a depth, and all 5 layers of the vocal cords are there together.
Like you're talking like
It's
like
a
here,
really
this
yes,
way.
this way. So you are
Okay.
thicker, and I mean
Of course,
much
this is now
smaller.
once again we get into science. We can't technically see this, but this is
Okay.
what
This
is
is
generally accepted.
What is accepted at the
Gotcha.
moment? Yeah, at the moment being a keyword. Like
Yeah,
they
that's true. It
literally even
changes a
last
lot.
year like just discovered like a muscle that didn't exist before.
well, that's
you know?
exciting. It's yeah, they're
Yeah.
making
Very
discoveries.
I still
cutting
don't
edge.
know it, so it kind of works out.
I
but
know.
I know the old book.
I know.
Right, yeah.
I saw it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Richard's PowerPoint, but I forgot it. But it exists now. But anyway, as you go higher, your vocal cords lengthen and they thin. It's like a rubber
Okay.
band. So if you have like a thick rubber band, the more you pull it, the
Right.
thinner it goes.
Right.
So in head voice, you're thinner, and those vocal cords are kind of doing this. In chest voice, they're doing this flappy thing, where they're going from the bottom to the top, bottom to the top.
Oh, okay.
And that's how you have much stronger of a sound in chest voice than in
So
head voice.
depending, because you said there's breaks at different points depending on what
Yeah. So
would you call it? You had a word for that.
ultimately you don't need to break. Your voice does not need to break. Your voice can transition very smoothly up into head voice and then very smoothly back into chest voice.
Gotcha.
What people normally do is so you know how the vocal cords again they move up, they come together and they release up to 400 times or up to 1,000 times a second, right?
Yeah.
So maybe someone's
Right.
starting at 200 times a second, and they can do this at 200 times a second. But then they try to keep this musculature as they go faster and faster and faster and higher and higher and higher and higher
Gotcha.
until all of a sudden it just can't take that fastness anymore at this depth, and it right to head voice because that's the easiest place for it
Right.
because that's the only way it
Because
can
then it
go
just
that
goes
fast.
right to there, and that's
Yeah.
that sound you're hearing. That little
That's
break is when it's going from something like that to just
Yes.
instantaneously.
And sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's this.
Yes,
sometimes you
sometimes it
don't
gets
have
breathy.
full chord closure. That's why you hear like that really breathy sound. A lot of people don't know. They kind of transition into what the terminology isn't necessarily congruent across the field.
Yeah.
But what I would refer to as either chest voice or head voice, which has closure, either here or here, into falsetto, which would be more like this.
So a falsetto is when it's wide
When the chords are not fully together.
in there. Okay.
So head voice,
Yeah.
solid sound.
Gotcha.
falsetto.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, the chords aren't fully together. So you hear that air texture as it
You hear
comes through.
that's what it is. It's like a texture. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep, yep.
So you teach techniques to control the vocal cords.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make them
for sure.
to make them
that's
do
a
what you
huge
want them
part
to
of-
do.
Huge
Yeah.
part of the whole
Yeah.
whole training part of it.
Right.
Because that's obviously that's one of the key foundational pieces of what brings it all together.
Right. It might be like the instrument, right?
Yeah,
The chord instrument. In a
yeah,
way.
and how that and the airflow work together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge determinant. That with resonance, I mean, that's 99% of what you need technically. If you can balance those things the way that you want to, everything else is just kind of a detail that usually pulls one of those things out.
Yeah.
you know,
Gotcha, yeah.
Oh, and then of course style, but
Right.
we're
Right,
talking
right.
about technique.
One of our vocal coach mentors said it so succinctly. It was like, he's like, yeah, air starts here, it comes here and makes sound, and then you shape the sound here, and then it leaves as music. And I was like,
Boom.
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, you shape it. And
You
then,
shape it,
yeah.
you know, because you have,
Yeah.
it just starts with air, then it here is where it turns into sound, and this is how you shape it. Obviously, you're shaping it, and then it leaves your mouth.
Yeah.
And then it's music. And it's like, oh. But yeah.
Can most people learn how to sing?
I would say so.
I think
Are there
so.
people that just can't? I mean, save like people who can't speak at all, but there's some. Is it something to do with your hearing? Like not like you have like a, if you know what I mean, like some people can't hear pitch well. Like I have some friends that are like, they hear pitch really well, and I hear it okay.
Right,
You
right.
know?
In my experience, I've really only had a couple, 3 people that have really struggled, and I've taught for right at 15 years now, just under that. And it's interesting. Out of those people, at least 2 of the 3, and I never asked the third. Okay.
Okay.
So at least 2 of the 3 had some form of hearing loss or a hearing impediment when they were young, like in those developmental years. And so it wasn't that almost everybody could get to that pitch. You know, that whole tone deaf thing. There are some people that would say it's absolutely a thing. I mean, there are definitely people that struggle with it a lot.
Yeah.
But most people, I find can kind of wrangle that in. It's just, how easy is it for them?
Yes.
You know, for somebody that sang the majority of their life, my mom claims that I was singing in the crib. You know, like
Yeah.
da, 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 to the theme song of Dallas, right?
Oh wow.
So,
Right.
but I mean,
You were teaching her how to sing.
precisely. Yeah. That's why she's so good. What are you talking about? But yeah, I mean.
Nothing happened.
But yeah, so it's where was I? Sorry, I got
Singing in the crib.
distracted. No, it's the thing before that.
Tone deafness.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I think that the more momentum you have and the more practice you have in that context, the easier it gets. You know, for people in the way of like really solidifying their ear.
Gotcha.
I will say for people that really struggle with staying on pitch, 90% of people, it's a technical issue. 10% of people, it is an ear issue. And if that's the case, you really want to actually train your ear and your voice separately for a while. You need to build that momentum.
Right, because that's like what you're another gauge, right? Like that's like the gauge. Like,
For sure.
You know, can you like if you use the piano when you teach a lot, and
For sure.
So like you'll hold a note or a chord down, and that's for like reference,
For sure.
right? Yeah. So do you also teach how to gauge or how to make your hearing better, or like your what's the word I'm looking for here?
Pitch reference.
Pitch reference.
Yeah. It depends on the person. If they don't need it, they don't need it. I mean, and I think, each of us has had at least, like you were saying, a couple, 3 clients. I've had at least one that I've worked with for a couple years who, again, has a hard time with pitch reference. So for part of the lesson, we will literally all play a note. Here it is. Now you're here, and you need to go down here. Like, there it is. Stay there. Like, so. It really just depends on the person and everything.
But that's something you will incorporate in some of your lessons and things.
If we need,
I have before. It depends on the severity of it.
Yeah.
If it's a little, I will. If it's not, I'll literally tell them, look, go to a college down the road.
Gotcha.
Put up a flyer, pay someone $20 an hour to be really kind and help you develop that.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to pay my rate for that.
Right, true.
That's relatively easy comparatively.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's but in the way of hearing things, I mean, getting deeper, because sometimes it's a pitch thing and sometimes it's a tone thing.
What's the difference between pitch and tone?
Let me not go technical. Let's say pitch is the actual what you would play on the piano, right? So a C, it's technically the fundamental frequency. Tone is like the harmonics that surround it. So the color of that.
Gotcha. Sure.
Technically, vowels are kind of a way of exampling tone.
Like E-I-O.
Yeah. You can say A, E, I, O, right? But and can be the same pitch, but they sound from a color perspective very different.
Gotcha.
Right.
And that goes back
Right.
to your mouth shape thing,
Right.
depending
That's
on
what-
how
yeah,
your
that's
mouth
where
is
it is.
shaped.
Yeah, the vocal tract, throat and mouth.
Yeah.
From
Right.
the chords to the lips, that whole tube, if you will, is dependent, is what creates your tone.
Because you're kind of creating the pitch by your chord, and then everything after that is shaping the tone.
Right.
Is that,
Things bounce around and we get harmonics, and then we have this wonderful,
Gotcha.
splendid sound. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep, and you want different mouth shape for different types of things. If you were
Yeah.
a choir singer, works really well.
Oh yeah, they always look like really.
But you do not want that if you're in musical theater or pop or rock.
No.
You
If you
know?
want to cut through a mix, that's going to be a little tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched that movie Bohemian Rhapsody
Yeah.
recently, and I didn't realize Freddie Mercury had obviously he had the money opportunity to fix his teeth.
Yeah.
But he was scared to do it, and it's kind of clicking now. Like, oh yeah, it's a really he could have really messed up his tone, I guess.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't know. He had a big mouth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I do believe that was a thing.
Yeah,
think
I
so?
mean, it's interesting. I mean, the biological makeup of different singers, when you look at that, I haven't spent a lot of time, but it's interesting when you see some of the, I don't know, the rock singers that go up in the stratosphere. You start looking at them visually. It's like there are some similarities here.
Yeah.
I wonder why. I wonder if there's something in there that helps. Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Well, I think of like Steven Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Giant.
That huge
yeah.
mouth.
Idina
Yeah.
Menzel, same thing with her. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Actually, I saw a seminar where they were literally just analyzing like this circumference of her mouth. Like
Really?
a screenshot. Yeah.
Wow, they're like-
I think that was the vocal science one actually.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's
But-
vocal science.
Yeah. Vocal. Who knew we'd go to a
Yeah, I
vocal
know,
science
right?
workshop?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
conference.
There was a Well,
Gosh.
we don't have to.
We
go
don't
into
have
that.
to. I know where you're going with that, though.
I kind of want to know. We don't have too much time left, but
it might involve editing. I don't know. It's-
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
yeah. So okay. So there was this. It was just this mind numbing workshop, and it was wonderful. And there was a lot of great
information.
information. And it sparked a lot of wonderful ideas. And actually, it was super collegiate based. Matter of fact, when we walked in to register, she's like, "Oh, are y'all students?" It's like, no,
We're coaches.
no.
Because they were used to 50 white-haired professors.
Right. That was the
Yeah,
majority.
That was
of
the
it.
majority
is
of the
that
people
why-
at this at this
Gotcha.
conference.
Right.
It's a vocal science conference,
Yes.
and most people are like older.
In that context, yeah,
okay,
and-
gotcha,
and
in that.
especially in
Okay,
that
gotcha.
scenario. And so, anyway, it was dominantly classical.
Mm-hmm.
So
Opera.
we're right. So we're sitting back and kind of like, okay, how's this apply to what we really do, and everything, and kind of playing and stuff. And fortunately, we weren't completely alone. We had a couple of other coaches there that we
did.
know, but dominantly it was the other crowd. And so it was interesting at the end, the last day, and this is probably only day 3, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
A lot of calculus. Like calculus involved in frequencies and overtones and yes, just a lot of science.
It was
A
crazy.
A
It was-
lot of technical.
I definitely, my brain eventually just kind of went like,
Yeah, it was something.
and so anyway, the last, I think the last presentation,
Yep.
they were talking about different voice types
In opera,
in opera, which another word for that is Fachs.
which is German.
Fachs.
Okay.
F-A-C-H.
Very close to.
Right,
Yes.
and so we're kind of in the
We're the
back
bad
of the
college
room,
students.
Oh yeah.
messaging each other. It's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. It's like, she's like, what's my fuck?
And I was looking up Fox because I had done classical in college just because I had to in order to get my degree. I had to do some arias, but I had never been given a Fox. And so I'm yes.
You never gave a fuck.
I never gave a Fox.
No one's ever given you one.
I'm looking up these Fox, and there are all these different vocal ranges and things like that. And I was like, well, I could be any one of these 6 Fox because of my vocal range.
And she's like, what the
I don't. What
I'm
the
like, no
fuck
Fox
am I?
for you.
No Fox for you. Oh my god, it just got out of control.
This is in the middle of.
Oh yes,
Right.
Right.
And we're
So
just trying
we're in the
to
back
keep
of-
a straight face.
It wasn't even a lecture
Yeah, I was in
hall.
high school once.
Oh
I
my
remember
God.
these. Yeah.
And we just reverted to again, 19-year-old college kids
That's
in the back
great.
of a lecture hall, just like
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was.
No
It was.
fucking way.
no.
Yeah, no.
Fox.
Cool. So that's a legit term though in opera.
It is, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And
One more reason to make fun of opera.
Yeah, well, no, it's great, you know.
And if that's your thing, that's your thing.
No,
It's just,
And it's beautiful.
it's
I mean,
beautiful.
and it requires so much
yeah.
talent and so much control.
Absolutely.
It took a while because I had like this interesting, along my journey, like, I was told if you can sing opera, you can sing anything, and blah blah blah. And kind of fast forward
Which
to
is what you're told in college.
my junior senior year in college, and I remember going out to karaoke with some of my opera buddies and just having to leave because I'm a very transparent person here.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I'm gonna go to the
Yeah.
And I dug my key into
Life's
the
too short to hide.
Right. Anyway, so like there was this interesting, when I got out of there and when I got out of college, everything, you learned a lot and stuff. I started really doing, obviously going back to more contemporary stuff because that's where my passion is.
Okay.
And I kind of started developing this negative just because it's very, especially in the college world, musically, no organizations like talk to each other.
Yes.
Musical theater won't talk to classical.
What?
Classical, I mean, they
Won't talk to the contemporary
because
side.
nobody wants to have their version like whatever, they have their ideas of what it is
This is
and what's
how it
not.
is, and this is how it will be.
Right.
Right. And usually contemporary doesn't even exist. And
In
if it
college.
did, then, everyone would be,
Right.
they'd be shunned. But
Right.
but
Right.
anyway, so like it was this interesting like back and forth within me. And then I finally kind of had this realization, it's beautiful. I've always enjoyed it. But, opera is like a beautiful painting up on a wall. It's meant to be admired from afar. Whereas, more of the contemporary stuff, it kind of grabs you by the hand and it walks you down and tells you a story, and that to me is so much of what music is. It's emotion that we can hear. It's what, it makes you feel something. It helps you experience something, whether it's something that's meant to be admired from afar, or whether it's more intimate.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, that's cool. It is though. I mean, it goes back to just you work one-on-one with students. They all have their own thing, and you have to be very conscious of that.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of got to walk their own path.
For sure.
For sure.
So what do people do to contact you? You're remote online now, so can you do people outside of Orlando and outside?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
We had,
for sure.
in the past month, I've had a Mexico and a Singapore.
Really?
Yeah, and a London.
There
And
you
in
go.
England. Yep. Yeah.
So-
no, we're international.
So I'll link your website and all that good stuff.
Sounds good.
And
Sure.
that's a great place probably for people to
Yeah.
start.
And we have a
Will do.
Facebook group. We go live every Wednesday.
Okay.
Right.
To answer questions and things.
Yeah, and if you go to growingsingers.com, that'll
forwards
forward
you there.
to the
Okay.
Facebook group.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
probably the easiest thing to do right now.
And sometimes we can find you guys in the songwriter workshops
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that Casa
Oh, yeah.
Studios hosts.
We try.
Sometimes
A lot of
a
times
few
we're
a month.
working and stuff like that. We have lessons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
But-
but no,
But
gosh, that's
that's
such a
such a great
wonderful.
time.
Yeah,
It's
I
cool,
love that
right?
stuff, Yeah.
Yeah, you get different all sorts of people in there.
Oh my
and,
gosh, it's so
yeah.
cool.
So if anyone is a songwriter out there
Yeah.
or they want to learn how to sing,
Yeah.
I'll put some cool links.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, seriously, do the songwriter workshop. It's
Yeah.
magical. Like
It's free.
yeah. Well, and I came to that the first time. I'm like, this is great. Like
know.
I
Right.
haven't been around that type of environment where you have so many people with so many different types of expertise, sharing ideas and things like that. It's a wonderful community.
Such a
Everyone's passionate.
Yes, and such a creative outlet. I mean, I leave so inspired there. I'm just like, oh my gosh,
I know.
music's amazing.
Right. There's been a number of times where I get, even when we're doing them online right now, where I'm just like not feeling like I don't want anything to do with music, but I guess I'll hang out in the workshop. And then afterwards, I'm like, write a song,
Exactly.
Whatever.
For sure. I mean, I actually started writing again,
Yeah?
as a result of all of that. Yeah.
Cool.
No,
You
it's
got to
been-
share one.
It's on the agenda. It's
Yeah.
on the
Good.
agenda.
I'm excited to hear
Yeah.
it.
It's
Yeah.
got quite a few going on.
Yeah,
Good.
I got a couple in the pipes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is one a love song?
Actually,
Is one a love
Hey.
song.
now that I'm thinking back,
It's a breakup song. It's not based off of life experiences. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical breakup.
Yeah.
No. It's what if you had the absolute
Call it
perfect
falling
person?
in harmony.
Yeah. There you go.
falling in harmony.
Falling out of harmony. And it's just
The
you
sequel.
screaming in the background.
What the fuck
Going death metal.
Right. Oh, yeah.
The 2020 love story.
It all comes together.
6 feet away.
Well, Kirsten, Ken, thank you for coming on.
For sure.
Yeah,
Seeing Orlando,
definitely.
definitely a great resource. Glad to have in Orlando,
Yeah,
as I
glad
do
to
love
have you
this
guys
community.
here.
So
For sure. Oh, me too. Me too.
Definitely.
So glad. I moved
Great.
down, 7 years ago. Love it.
Good.
Not getting rid of me.
I think it's a
No.
hidden gem. So
For sure.
glad to have you guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank
for
you so
having
much,
us.
Stuart. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cool.